Hello there, guys. Please just bear with me for a second. We are going live on Pulse Talk Radio, but I'm losing everything. I've lost my mind. I've lost everything. So please, guys, just hold tight. I'm gonna have to do my normal thing. I'm just gonna have to leave you for a couple of minutes. All right. And I don't even know where the phone is. So you know what? Why panic, Russell? Why panic? Bear with me just a one moment as I leave you. I don't know who is watching and I'm watching. I will be back in a couple of seconds, guys. Sorry about that, guys. I'm back. I'm back. Welcome along, guys. Welcome along. Um, we are just waiting to hit the top of the hour, and we'll be going live on Pulse Talk Radio, and we'll be joined by a very special guest tonight. Okay, it's going to be me on my own for the first bit. Okay, because poor Simon has contracted the dreaded lurgy, and he is very poorly at the moment. So, my co-host Simon is a little bit poorly, but we're going to be joined by another Simon around about 8:15, which is going to be a little bit different for the show. Okay, a little bit different for the show tonight. But it's a little bit off what we would normally talk about. But there is some strong links between what we will be talking about and I've lost the phone. I don't know where I am, but hey ho, we'll be going live in a couple of minutes. All right, a couple of minutes on Pulse Talk Radio, and then we will go from there. Hopefully. Bear with us a minute. Right. Hello, look at this. Loads of people have joined us in the chat. Let's go live on Pulse Talk Radio, ladies and gentlemen. Hold tight, buckle up, and let the fun begin.
As a duly designated representative of the city, I order you to cease any and all supernatural activity and return forthwith to your place of origin or to the nearest convenient parallel dimension.
Whoa. Just hold up 1 minute there. It's not who you're going to call, but it's who you're going to listen to. And if you ain't afraid of no ghosts, stay tuned for the EGH Paranormal Talk Show. Hello there, guys, and welcome to the EGH Paranormal Talk Show, live and exclusive on Pulse Talk Radio, Facebook, and YouTube. But as I say, I am on my own for the first bit. The first bit I'm on my own for because my lovely co-host Simon Carter, that is, has got the dreaded lurgy and he's very poorly at the moment. So can we send him lots of love and healing? I know he'll be watching in somewhere along the line and listening in, but he has got the dreaded lurgy, and he's not very well. Okay. But let's send him some lovely healing and all that. But in around about 15 minutes time, I'm going to be joined by another Simon. And this show is going to be a tiny bit different today. It's going to be something that is going to not fit necessarily within the paranormal field, but there is some amazing things that this YouTube sensation that is going to come on. You know, he's approaching 100,000 subscribers on YouTube. That is massive. That is massive. And he's a mudlarker. Well, I'd actually like to rather call him a treasure hunter. That's how I would like to see it, because I find it more fun. Find it a lot more fun when you call him a treasure hunter. So Mr. Simon Bourne of Si's Finds will be joining us probably around about 15 minutes time. And I can't wait. He's a good friend of mine. I've known him for a long, long time. But for everybody who is listening on Pulse Talk Radio, you'll also be allowed, Who's allowed? You can watch it whenever you want. We'll be live streaming on the Essex Ghost Hunters YouTube channel and the Essex Ghost Hunters Facebook page as well. So let's say who is joining us tonight in the chat. Who have we got? We've got the lovely Jane Cook that is joining us as well. Scott Pollandine is watching. The lovely Scott Allen has joined in the chat as well. He'll be joining the Pulse Talk family very soon for a new paranormal show all the way from across the pond in the United States of America. We had the pleasure of talking to Scott a few weeks, I think it was last week, wasn't it, on the show. So welcome to the Pulse Talk family, Scott, and thank you for tuning in. We've got the lovely Donna that is watching. I should say watching now, not the other one. Si will be joining us very soon, Cindy Lou, very much. We've got the lovely Heidi Hansen that has joined us as well in the chat. I hope you're feeling better, Heidi. Remember, keep smiling away. Okay, we've got the lovely Joanna Alcorn that has joined us, and the lovely Lorraine Smith. Lisa Clark has also joined us as well. But I just want to tell you, it's a paranormal show. Okay, so we're going to start off with a little paranormal story. Okay, something that happened to me in the week that, it made me feel a little bit uncomfortable, just a tiny bit. And it gives me the heebie-jeebies. Like, I was at work and I was in very early and I was opening up the premises as I normally would do on an early shift. Okay. And as I was walking around my location that I open up, okay, I found this energy. Okay. This slight energy that would sort of move around. Okay. And sort of stalk me. And it felt like it was very, very close. Okay. Very close. And I've actually caught this. Okay. I've actually caught this on CCTV footage as well, but I can't really show you at the moment. I need to get clearance to show this. But as I walk past a door, okay, the door opens up behind me. Okay. But I generally thought that there was someone in the room that this door was linked to, because I heard my name called. I heard the name Russ. So I thought, I've got to walk back past there in a minute. So it's obviously someone who wants to chat to me. And that's what I did. I walked past. And when I got to the door and the cupboard that was open, I looked in there and there was no light on. There was nothing there. Absolutely nothing there. And it threw me. For a couple of seconds, it threw me, because I don't think that I've had that sort of phenomena for a hell of a long time. Because as I come back round the corner, I saw the door open. I saw the door moving open. So that's when my brain naturally thought that there was someone waiting in the cupboard to talk to me or ask me for help. But there wasn't anybody there. There was nobody there. And it did give me the EBGBs. For like the next 10 minutes, walking around, opening up all the dark corridors and everything like that. Oh, you could feel the energy coming from behind, and sort of every corner that I took, it sort of popped back in. But then later that day, there was loads of feathers planted in my way. So I'm just wondering if it was someone that was trying to get my attention, and I've been ignoring them for a time. But it was a very nice sort of end to the story. And as a paranormal investigator, you long for that sort of interesting sort of feel. But when it actually happens to you every now and again, it goes, oh, is that actually happening? And I, in the past, I actually class myself as sort of quite brave when it comes to things like that. But this one definitely threw me, because I saw it with my own eyes, and I knew I walked past that door every morning, and it's never opened like that. It's locked. The door is locked, and it's opened. It did half give me the creeps, massively give me the creeps that morning. But after a cup of coffee at 5:30 in the morning, what do you expect, eh? What do you expect? But in around about 5 minutes time, guys, we'll be joined by, our special guest from Si's Finds of YouTube. Okay, he's a mudlarking expert, but I say I'd rather call him a treasure hunter, because he has come up with some treasures. He has come up, and we'll be talking about this throughout the show. But I've had some great pleasures of dealing with some objects that Si has found on the Thames. He does a lot of mudlarking on the Thames around very haunted Wapping. There's a lot of history towards that is linked to the Thames. And the one thing that I have spoken to Si, when he edits his videos for YouTube, and if you haven't already subscribed, go over there and subscribe. Si's Finds, okay? That's where you want to be heading. So that is where you need to be. Head over, Si's Finds, like, subscribe, however you do it, and hopefully we can get him to break the 100,000 subscribers mark at some point, which would be amazing feat. Amazing. But Si has sort of spoken to me. I go off track all the time. And he has caught some sort of phenomena. When I say phenomena, it's like EVPs, like strange sounds that he's heard within his videos. And I'm not sure what Si's stance is on the paranormal world. Is he a believer? Is he a non-believer? But when someone sort of asks you the question, what do you think this is? It's like, okay, if you're on the foreshore, and sometimes he's been down there late at night because you have to work with the tides. So it'd be interesting to get his take, how he feels about that. So in the next couple of minutes, he will be joining us. Hit the button and let's get him on. Hopefully he'll be joining us and we can have a lovely conversation. And actually get your questions, guys. Get your questions in, because I'm going to wait until Si has joined us in the chat, and we're going to talk about what objects he has given me, because during lockdown he supplied us with a lot of our lives, so to speak, and with objects that he's found on the Thames. So it's going to be good. This chat is going to be good. So just hold tight. And I've just had a message from the boss of Pulse Talk Radio, and he watches Si on YouTube as well. And we are trying to, me and myself and Si and the EGH team are trying to get a little gig together. And when I say gig together, we're going to try and do a little bit of sort of, when you put the objects in your hands and see if we can get energy from the fines and things like that. So that would be good. And we're going to try and do a dual live somewhere. We have, a lot around Wapping is very, very haunted. But there's one thing that I will just talk about. And Si, if Mr. Cardi, my co-host, is watching in the chat and listening in, Wapping Old Steps. Okay, Wapping Old Steps was the hanging of Judge Jeffries, which plays a big part when we go to Wales. Okay. And when we go to Wales, we go to the Skirrid Inn. And this was one of the courts of Judge Jeffries, the hanging judge he was called. But the River Thames ghosts are not usually witnessed by police, but the Thames police are based on the river at Wapping. So maybe that's why the ghost of Judge Jeffries has been spotted by the river police standing on the Wapping steps that lead down to the river near the old town of Ramsgate, said to be the oldest pub on the Thames. That was where he was arrested in 1688 as he tried to escape abroad in disguise. Judge Jeffries is known as the hanging judge for good reason. He was a capacity judge and he put to death over 300 supporters of the Duke of Monmouth, who were brought before him before his trial in the English Civil War. He was probably fortunate to have died of natural causes in the Tower of London. Had he lived, the fate would have probably been very, very unpleasant. Okay. So this is really good. This is really interesting because I didn't realize until our guest sort of Si joins us, we can talk about this. So Si will be joining us very shortly on Pulse Talk Radio. And we're going to get right on this. Okay. I often go to the foreshore at Wapping. Brilliant. Terry C has joined us. It's a new name as well. So it's very, very interesting. Very, very interesting what we're going to talk about. And I'm going to introduce our guest right this minute. We're going to add him to the live stream and welcome the Thames Mudlarker, Mr. Simon Bourne, to the chat. Welcome to the show, Simon.
Hello, guys. All right, Russ, how you doing?
I'm all good. Yourself?
Yeah, not bad, mate. Not bad. It's been a long day, but we finally got here. I've got a beer open, so I'm letting it all freely speak now.
You speak freely and how you want to join us in this chat, because this is very different to our normal show. This is very different to our normal show because obviously it's the paranormal talk show, but we're not really going along the paranormal lines, but we can introduce chat into this. For any of you don't know as well, this is the side I talk about. As you see, the logos in the top corners of everything that you see is all designed by Si as well. So I'm very lucky to have him as a good friend and tonight as a guest.
Oh,
as we
I feel the same way about you, dear boy. Yeah, we have known each other a while. I think it's got to be 25 plus years, something like that.
It's got to be. Don't say it like that because we don't get any younger. So we never get any younger. But we've got some people already joining us on the chat. Terry C, hi here, new here. Looking forward. This should be an interesting show. I often go to the foreshore at Wapping. One of our paranormal followers as well. Hi, Simon. I've wanted to do mudlarking for years. Look, we'll come to this one in a minute because this is a question. Okay, so Julie, we'll come to this one when we've sort of introduced Si Si to the show properly. So let's crack straight on. Si, how did you get into this? What made you do this?
I've always been interested in history, but at school I took geography because I'm about to be joined by Daisy. I can hear her rattling, so she jumps up. There we go. She must know. She can hear me talking and thinks it's for her. So yeah, I didn't really get on very well with history at school. Took geography. I think we all liked the teacher, didn't we, Russ, at school? Remember geography teacher? I won't mention any names, but
was that you got to now because I can't remember this. Was that Miss Stacey?
Nah, because of a P.
Miss Parsons.
That's right. Yeah, you said it, not me. So
yeah, that's it, right. Yeah, I'm liable for it.
Yeah, so it wasn't the reason I took geography, but history was a bit boring back in school. But now I learned that there's a chance to do metal detecting and find, wonderful artifacts that we can pick up and research and learn about. And I wanted to go into metal detecting. That was the first sort of curious hobby that I wanted to try. I mean, me and Russ have been through all the hobbies. I think we've done darts, golf, you name it. We've given it a go. So. Metal detector was next on the list, and I tried it out just over the local park, and I loved it. Then I discovered the Thames, and that was better because I'm, East London. It's easy to get to, and the history there is phenomenal. And not only do we find metal objects, which you would do normally when you're metal detecting, we find all sorts of things, i.e., bottles, pottery, bones, buttons, clay pipes, and lots of other things that leather work, that sort of thing. Get your bum out of the way. Usually she just sit on me, but she's doing little circles. So that's what started it. And I went down there and met a few like-minded people, and they were really cool. There was a little club at the time that we went to, and we sort of nerdily shared our finds with each other. And I was just it was just every week there was something different to be found, and all these wonderful objects. It's never the same, with certain hobbies it gets a bit repetitive, but with mudlarking, metal detecting, like Forrest Gump says, you never know what you're going to find, and it's just like that. As long as you've got a bit of luck and you put a lot of time in, because it's not as easy as it looks, despite the appearance of YouTube. I make it look like every week something fantastic comes up, but I might go out 2 or 3 times and only have something good up the once, because that's just the way it goes. And but yeah, it's a fantastic addictive hobby for me. And I'm building a nice collection up of artifacts, and shared a few with you, Russ, that you've had a mull over, and see if we can, call upon any energies that might still be buried deep within these things. I don't know if you've had any success with that, but I know that a lot of these objects must carry some sort of energy with them, because some of the objects have got quite a potentially deep and dark history to them, especially the weapons and anything that's got a personal link to it. And talking of personal links, I found a beautiful tobacco tin a few weeks ago. And it's probably one of my best finds ever. And it's actually got some names inscribed in it, some initials. It dates to, well, we know the exact date because it's got the date on the side of the tin, 1714. So 300-year-old tobacco tin. So some old sailor or merchant was smoking away, getting his tobacco out of his tin, and for some reason it ended up in the Thames, whether there was a kerfuffle or, who knows, maybe just accidentally dropped in, or we just don't know. But the fact is, there's loads of information on this, and on the inside there's some scribbles, some doodles, and maybe he was practicing doing some engraving before he took to the front to make the best version of the engraving. There's actually a surname on the inside as well that I've got to do some more research on. But it's finds like that have got the real personal touch, and I think, Russ, you like that sort of thing as well, because you can put it down to a certain individual, or at least narrow it down to a group and a time and possibly a place, and it sort of goes to really add a lot more gravitas and weight to the find.
Look, you don't start using long words for this show. It's got Essex in the title. Okay, so
I'll teach you a few words.
But no, it's what for anybody who is listening to the show, you can actually go and see this tobacco tin over on Si's Finds YouTube page. Okay, and it's what I'm going to do now, guys, is up in the top corner you'll see. So if you want to follow Si on YouTube, that's where you go and find him. Okay, that's where you need to go and find it. That will stay up on all the time through the show. But you have got a Instagram page, haven't you, Si?
Yep, same job, Si Finds. To be honest, most of the exclusive content, and that is all on YouTube because I like to show it in the full context of how it was found, and then do like some research as well. I don't just a lot of detecting programs, shows and stuff on YouTube. They're really good, but they kind of lack the real depth bits behind the find, and I like to sort of delve in. It won't go on for ages, but we'll just explain what the item is, the relevance it's got, and the interesting other little wormholes you can go down. So I like to cover all that, and also not just that. If there isn't a lot of maybe real juicy history, I'll upcycle the finds and make art out of them as well. I'll make coins based on inspiration from the sort of tokens that I found, and it all at the end of the show it tends to go off on a little tangent somewhere. It'll either be research, an upcycle, or a piece of art generally. So but
it's what I liked about you can actually see the tobacco tin itself, and it's beautiful, isn't it? It's actually really, you think 300 years old piece of metal, and it is in really quite mint condition, so to speak.
Yep. When I found it, it was half sticking out and half buried, and one half had been, you could see the top half had been cleaned away by the tide, but the bottom half was all muddy. But yeah, once I took a couple of cleaning solutions to it, and it came up really well. Obviously the craftsmanship back then, they were making ships, so they were sailing all around the world and producing. Think of all the things they were using to navigate on the ships and stuff, and telescopes. They actually did, and in that year, 1714 was the first typewriter that was ever patented by an Englishman. So you can see the level of technology they're at. We kind of think 300 years ago, they were kind of, how advanced were they? But they were very advanced. They were making some really impressive things. And the tobacco tin would have been, despite its wonderful appearance and condition, it wouldn't have been much of a challenge to make that sort of thing. What I'm really impressed with is the engraving on the outside, because it's a monogram. So there's 4 letters. I think we worked out what they are. Maybe it could be a G or a J, an N and an O and a B, beautifully inscribed, and then the date all in the old script, and like perfection. There's not one slip of the knife, So it was taken a lot of care of. And back then, tobacco would have been very expensive. Not like, well, it's still expensive today, but anybody can go out and buy a pack of fags today if they want. But back then, it was a lot more expensive. You either had to be wealthy, or you could only afford a very, very small amount, because the clay pipes that we find, the very, very first ones were introduced in about 1590, and they were tiny. The pipe bowls were about as big as a thimble. Yeah, so you could only get a tiny pinch of tobacco in them. And then as we started taking over, conquering all these lands, and trade was becoming easier, tobacco became more abundant, and it was cheaper to import and then cheaper to smoke. And then the pipes just followed that in their size. They became bigger, and then eventually they become decorated, and smoking was a massive thing. So it's not surprising we find so many clay pipes, but we don't find very many tobacco tins, although this is my second one. So
but for this, the second one, it is almost very regal. I've seen the pictures, and you say the inscription is very flowy, and it almost feels like it's come from someone of what we would call high stature in the paranormal world. Because I wouldn't feel that a general dog's body would have something quite well, made. And like,
no, well, I mean, we think we might have a lead. We think he might be in the Navy, because obviously if it's on the Thames, the chances are a lot of the time things have fallen from people that own boats or they work on the boats, they work on the river. So we find a lot of nautical, maritime, that sort of thing, objects, buttons especially. Just editing a video now actually, and we found quite a lot of stuff relating to the prison hulks, which we can talk about later if you want. And so yeah, it's a chance that this guy was in the Navy, and that's a really respectable job. So he would have had, he could have been, a captain, or it could have been just an officer. But whatever the case, he may have travelled, and he might have picked up this case, or he definitely would have picked up tobacco. So he probably could have got tobacco reasonably well, being working on the ships and seeing the what comes in, and being a trader, being a merchant, he probably could get hold of it quite easily. But for the common man, for the person that just had a regular job, tobacco was a bit of a very much a high class kind of. It was a treat, for most people.
Definitely.
But to have a whole tin of it, to have a big tin of it, you'd have to have a few quid. Absolutely.
Yes, yeah, that's what what got me thinking. Let's just check in with some messages that we've got coming. This is from Joanne. I am new to EGH. This is my second watch, but I have lately been watching Si's Finds. What an amazing coincidence. Well, me and Si have actually spoke about this quite a lot, and we feel that sometimes there could be a nice strong link between what Si does and us, because where's Terry C gone? This is what you call a bit like stone tape theory within metal. I don't know if you know what stone tape theory is, Si, within the paranormal field. It's like something that will, like a residual energy, it will replay itself over and over and over again. Mm-hmm. So if that, for example, if this tobacco tin would belong to someone and he threw it in the Thames walking away because he got in the ump, stone tape theory would go along the lines that he would replay this over and over again every night at the same time, and the link in the energy will stay within that box. That's just a theory, and it stays, that energy is now hooked into that the object itself.
Would it have to be a traumatic experience for them to replay it over and over again, or is it mundane stuff?
No, I've always said stone tape theory is along the lines of traumatic. I've always gone that sort of way. Right. And yes, if you feel he's in the Navy, you can say that it could have fell out, but then also we could go along the lines of there could have been some form of accident on the Thames and he's lost his life.
Well, he could have gone overboard. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So all things like that. A lot of questions. A lot of people. I love Si's Finds and the paranormal. A lot of people are joining from both sides of the field here. So this is really nice. Thank you for everybody that is joining us tonight on all the platforms. Okay. I won't play. I shouldn't say this one, really, should I? Look, there's always one. Always one that loose cannon. Who's let this one in? You know what I mean? Si is also watching. This is what we're trying to sort out, Mr. Cardi. Okay, we think we've tried to be doing this for a long time, haven't we, Si?
Well, you just keep knocking me back every time I ask you.
It's just not easy. It's just not easy.
It's a 45-minute drive, and there's a pub right by it. What more do you want?
But
then you can't drive, can you?
No, but the pub is quite in Wapping, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Now, I don't know if you was listening just before. I was talking about the Wapping Old Steps.
Yep. Yeah, I heard you put Judge Jeffrey. Yeah.
Well, we've met this so-called ghost spirit in Wales, in the Skirrid Inn in Abergavenny, where he spent most of his time.
Yeah, because he was known as the hanging judge.
Yes.
Because he put to death a ton of Protestants. I think that's what it was, because it was all to do with the rebellion at the time. And he was very unforgiving about sentencing people to death. And a lot of them were actually hung at Wapping at Execution Dock, which is, the exact location isn't quite known, but it was near, we think, roughly between the Tanner Ramsgate pub and the Prospect of Whitby, somewhere along there. And they say the police think they might have seen something. And, you're going to believe the police, aren't you? They're not going to make stuff up, you would have thought. So there's lots of strange sightings on the Thames, and it is an eerie place. That was the one. That was the place. I think I sent you some footage, or at least sent you to a direction of the YouTube video where there was some weird noises. I think I was out with my mate Cuffs at the time. And at the time, we didn't hear anything. We didn't notice anything. But when we played the footage back, I was like, who's that shouting? It was actually, it sounded like they were talking, but very close by, which you'd think that's impossible because we were quite far out. It was a low water mark. So we were quite far out, 100 yards out on the foreshore. And it was sort of, moderate talking. And I know sound can travel, can't it? I suppose in different, but it wasn't windy. So the window wasn't going to carry the noise. And there are apartments and stuff up above, but I'm usually quite aware of if there's someone or kids hanging out, because you got to be careful when you go to London, because you never know what people might be, up to. So you always quite kind of on edge anyway, just to be on the safe side. And then when we played it back, there was like someone talking, and I thought that sounds a lot closer than I remember anything happening that night, because we remember the people that come. You know, you can remember people walking past, and it was very quiet that night. So it could just be a random person from their balcony coming out for a chat or what. But it sounded odd.
You're quite right in what you're saying, because obviously we do a lot of filming for the goat, but when you film, you do become aware of your surroundings. So if there is a noise or anything like that you know that is going to be picked up in the video, you sort of have a subconscious mind that you think, when you edit this back, you know this happened, so you try and edit that out.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
If you saw people walking or talking, you would have, in your subconscious, I would have like thought that you would have gone, right, so I know at this point there's someone up there, so I can either lower the tone or you can edit that out. And you've done so many videos, that would be something that I feel that you would be very aware of, your surroundings of people.
Absolutely. Yeah, it can be quite disorientating as well when you're down there, because it's quite dark. We've got head torches on as well, so it kind of feels the right environment for that sort of thing anyway. And I've done quite a few night larks. Like you said, I heard you say we are tide dependent. So if there's a good low tide at 8:30, 9 o'clock at night, we'll and it's not too cold, obviously, and raining, we'll make the effort to go down there and give it a go. And there could be, check out the videos, see if you can hear anything. Let me know. There's probably stuff that I've missed. I mean, I edit them, but believe it or not, I've actually edited a video where I found an old roofing hammer or something like that. And this wasn't during the night. This is just today, actually, where you came with us one time, last that place. And I found this hammer, and I was like, "What's that?" It's an odd shape. I don't know quite what that is. So I'm looking at it, and I just sort of moved on to the next thing. And then someone said, "Do you not realise there's this huge, giant old key on the foreshore that you missed when you were talking about the hammer?" And I looked back at the footage, like, "Oh my god, there it is, large as life." And I missed it. And you're gonna go back for it. You're gonna go back for it. And I did try and go back, but it's just gone. I'm really gutted because there's a beautiful old Georgian key that I'd missed. So just goes to show that you can't hear everything after you've recorded it, and you can't obviously see stuff. Maybe I'm just too busy doing it and distracted. But there's probably plenty of stuff on there that I haven't caught. So let me know if there is.
And I'm just going to sort of break into paranormal here, because do you remember a few weeks ago I texted you about the key? Have you got any keys?
Yeah.
Right. I don't think Mrs. A will be watching at the moment. She'll still be at work, but she actually asked me to text you about these keys. This is where that text message, it wasn't me. It was from Sandra, that said, please message your Si to say about the key. Now, we never spoke about that, did we? Before, you talking about this key that you just said, this children's key. No. I think there's a link here somewhere. I've just got to make a mental note in the recording so I can go back and show Mrs. A and see if this is the key that she's talking about.
Right. Well, there's the video. I remember the video. It's something like the video is called Spoil Heaps on the Thames or something like that. I can have a look for you if you want. Or we can just talk about it later, maybe. But that's the video. It's called Spoil Heaps, and there's a big heap because they were doing some excavations, because they're working on the sewer system in London at the moment, and they've been doing some mad excavations, and it was one of the places which I looked at and found that hammer, and the key wasn't in the same location, but it was a lovely key, and I was so gutted I missed it. So as soon as if you go onto that Spoil Heap video, and look for the moment I find the hammer, which actually is in the thumbnail, so that's another clue. You'll see a hammer in the thumbnail. So it's
okay. I'm going to get Mrs. A to watch that video to see if this links up to what she was getting, because she actually told me to text you. Because she thinks,
find it for me, because that was a lovely key, and I'm really
perhaps it is a link. Perhaps we've got to go back there and we've got to take some team members. This is another team member that I would love to try psychometry with some different finds, draw what I get maybe. Now, Kim is a great artist, and is what she does is she can work with spirit and she can draw what she sees very quickly. And that would be good if we could get a video, like, because you've asked me to do this before, psychometry. Remember, we went back quite a while and you found the dog tags. Remember the dog tags you found and you located?
Yep.
You actually asked me to try and sort of put psychometry into sort of this thing to see if we could find, and it was a shop owner, I believe, wasn't it? Or was that the right one?
I'm just trying to think now.
It's been returned. You returned it. I might not be dog tags.
If you're talking about the World War One dog tag, it was quite a while ago. It was a silver French franc that had been filed down on one side, and it was a Royal Flying Corps. It was it had the name Nathan Posner, of the guy who owned it.
Yes.
Is that the one? Yeah, that's an amazing story. That's my best ever find, and I don't own it anymore. I've given it back to the descendant. And I found that, and I thought it was a 10p piece. It turned out it had this beautiful engraving on it. It was a silver 2 French franc, dating to about the First World War. So I think it was made in around 1914, 1919, that sort of era. And we found the descendant. It had all this lovely information on it, thankfully, so we could find out who the guy was. We had his service number on there. Most of the work was done for us. It was just a case of finding who the descendant was, and wrote to the local newspaper, and they put the article out there saying Mudlarkers found a dog tag. Does anybody know the name? Does it ring any bells? And 2 weeks later, someone came forward, and he was the grandson of the guy that lost the dog tag, and he was just doing his family history as well. So to give him that back, he was absolutely over the moon, naturally, as you would if you had something from your grandfather that he'd taken to the war. What an absolutely amazing experience to actually give something back. It's very rare that we get to do that, you see, because obviously a lot of the artifacts we find, we've got very little idea of who they belong to, unless they're an iPhone, in which case you can't really unlock them because they're knackered. But it was fantastic. And he worked as a tailor in Limehouse and Tower Hamlets Way. That was a recorder, Tower Hamlets recorder. And after that, he probably, we assume that he must have gone to France to help with the war, because the RAF didn't really form until after the First World War. Before that, it was a Royal Flying Corps, and they were going up in these very thin little planes with one little gun, and a lot of the wings were made from fabric. So he was probably out there working with his leatherwork skills, with his needle skills, putting together these planes for the war. But as an airman, he didn't really get given a dog tag, as you know today. The First World War ones, I'm pretty sure they were leather anyway. So there's don't really find many First World War dog tags, but they were only given to the Tommies that were going to go, over the top, not to the people that might fly an aeroplane or might not get involved with the war. It was it's lovely to return that. And he was actually, I've got a photo of him and everything. So I've got a top 10 finds video, and if you look there, you'll see Nathan, what he looks like, and me returning it to his grandson John. It was really cool. Yeah,
I think that's a brilliant story. I think it's a lovely story as well, and I think it's sort of really nice of you that you don't necessarily keep all your finds. You do the proper things at the proper times. I know that there's some bits that you have to do and things that you have to sort of protocols that you have to follow. I just think it is fantastic that you do that sort of thing. I think it's lovely to give back as well.
Yeah, I think the magic for me is finding it in the first place as well, because that's the challenge. It's where can we find stuff? Can we find some good stuff that's got a bit of age to it and tells a story? And then once you've gone through that process of finding it and stuff, okay, we do collect a lot of stuff, and I do have a lot to it. However, it's nice to spread it out if you can. But if people want stuff, that I know they're going to value, I'll gladly give it to them if I know it's going to go to a good home. Happy to hand anything over, and that's the case if the museum ever wants anything. We do give stuff to the museum. Lots of Mudlarkers have done that over the years. In fact, lots of collections have been handed over to the museum. So it is treasure hunting, but we're happy to donate these things as well to museums. And a lot of, I should say that all the finds that we find, anything that is older than 300 years old, it will be recorded with the Museum of London. We have good connections. All the mudlarks have good connections with the museum. The museum are happy to speak to. They're happy for us to speak to them. We have meetings regularly, and we'll bring forward our finds, and then they can choose or not whether to record them or not. That goes up on a thing called the Portable Antiquities Scheme, which is websites. I think the website's called finds.org.uk, and most of the finds there are from metal detectorists and mudlarkers, mostly metal detectorists to be fair, because it's countrywide, but mudlarks have put an awful lot into that, and it's good. People say, oh, it was 70 or not 70 in the 70s they were thinking about banning it, but banning mudlarking and banning metal detecting, because they didn't want the government or the people that be the archaeologists and people that were supposed academics didn't want your average man going to find a potentially life-changing thing and not telling the world about it. It will go into collections, potentially they might lose it. So a big overhaul was done. They tried to ban it outright, but there was such a negative sway against that, and various they done sit down protests and stuff to try and stop that. It was all down to the Society of Mudlarks at the time that helped reverse that decision, which is why we can enjoy the hobby today and enjoy metal detecting.
Just on that note, where we're talking about sort of the protocols and everything and how it's all, Julie, no, I didn't. I clicked that one, wrong one. Hi, Simon. I've wanted to mudlark for years. Do you need a permit to mudlark? And if so, where can you obtain one?
Yeah, so yeah, you do need a permit. They're not expensive for what they are. If you think about most hobbies, could be gym membership would be 70 quid a month or so, maybe more, maybe less. Whatever. It depends where you go to. Russ knows all about gym memberships.
Yes. I just see this fine figure of a man.
Well, it doesn't get there by overnight, does it? So yeah, permit is available from the PLA website. I think it's pla.co.uk. So you go there, you can just look and see. It will take you to the right page. And a permit is something like, I think at the last count it was 90 quid, but that's for 3 years, and that entitles you to metal detect and scrape down to 3 inches at most locations. There are some areas which are off limits, namely the north side, because it's quite sensitive archaeologically. So there's limits to what can be dug and searched there. But you don't really need to, some place. There's so much of the Thames. It's like 200 miles long or something ridiculous. There's so much you can see and do. You don't have to go to the restricted areas. There's still plenty to see and to find. But yeah, just make sure if you're going to ever think about go mudlarking, get a permit is probably number one. So you're legal, because they are stopping people at the moment. I've heard that the PLA, they go up and down on boats, and if they decide they want to come over and check, they will. But more importantly, for personal safety, I would say, is double check the tide times, because if you're in the wrong place at the wrong time and the tide comes in, then it could spell disaster. I mean, there are lifeboats and stuff going up and down, but you don't really want to be testing those, do you? To be hanging off a river wall hoping that they're going to come anytime soon. Plus, it does get really cold in that river. Tide times, and just make sure you don't get stuck in the mud, because there's some very dodgy patches of mud as well, which isn't fun if you get stuck in. But yeah, common sense and usually be all right.
And Julie, just follow up on that one. Julie says, does this permit apply to magnet fishing as well?
I don't think you're supposed to magnet fish in the Thames. Don't think you're allowed. That's what I've heard. Someone's told me that. So yeah, you can't magnet fish the Thames, but you can probably do other rivers and canals and stuff. You're supposed to get permission to magnet fish. I'm supposed to say that. That's the same with metal detecting, and you should really metal detecting. I think, yeah, absolutely, make sure you've got permission, because it's someone's land at the end of the day, and if you just plod yourself onto a field, you're going to wind people up, and you're going to make a bad name for the hobby. Magnet fishing is a bit of a grey area. It's not really, it's not in the same league at all as metal detecting or mudlarking in terms of popularity. Although there's quite a lot of YouTube videos on it, which is quite interesting. But yeah, so or they might have general rules and say, yeah, we don't mind. And I'd say magnet fishing, crack on until someone tells you to move on.
The only thing that we ever caught magnet fishing, when we went Norfolk, and we caught
Hmm.
the anchor.
That's right. That wasn't a bad little catch as it goes.
No,
Yeah,
because we lost the one before the day before, did we?
yeah, I think we were trying to look for Adam's sunglasses, weren't we? Or
We would have smashed them to pieces.
I don't think they were made of metal. I think they were copper or something.
Julie says thank you as well. Thank you for your questions. Keep your questions coming, guys. If you've got any questions that you want to ask Si or myself, please feel free just to go over to Facebook or YouTube, both live on the Essex Ghost Hunters page on YouTube. And if you are listening in on Pulse Talk Radio, head over, pop our questions over, because I did have the mobile phone about 5 minutes before we started, and then I've lost it somewhere, so I don't know what I've done with it. So I can't give you the mobile number out because I don't know where it is at the moment. Kim has asked a question as well. Si, do you ever feel anything from the objects? Do you get the EBGBs when you pick something up, or do you feel someone maybe watching you if you find something?
Yeah, sometimes. Yeah, you do feel sometimes you do feel presence. I mean, the thing that I love is the first time you've touched this, very often, very first person you touch to find since the person has dropped it. So I almost feel like you do get transported back in time, and sometimes the hair on the back of your neck does stand up. I don't know if that's because you're getting some sort of connection with the person that lost it, or you're just grateful that you're the person to have found it for them, or you can definitely connect with definitely things from the past. I love to just daydream as well. So you hold these objects in your hand. I mean, I've got there in front of me. That's a medieval silver hammered Edward the First, I think it is, like dates to 1300. And you just think, what person has held that in their hand? I know it's a coin, so it's not just belonged to one person. It's gone through a series of people's hands. So maybe you can't get quite the connection from a coin that you can do from, say, a tobacco tin or a personal item like a watch or something like that. But yeah, you do feel connection, and I've never been like perturbed to the fact that it's made me want to drop it and back off from wherever it was. I always feel welcomed to pick these things up and don't feel like there's any animosity to the objects. I don't think there's any bad feeling towards it. I know that you found when you held the pistol, Russ, remember that little gun, whether you thought there might have been something involved in that.
Well, I'll go on to this story now. Okay, now you've mentioned this. It's the muff gun, isn't it, you're talking about? Yeah. So there is a YouTube video on our Essex Ghost Hunters page that involves your gun. Okay, Si? Yep. Now, we've done it twice, okay? You handed me this gun during lockdown because we was doing a lot of haunted objects live, and I sort of messaged you and said, Si, can you put me a little box of finds together, and we're going to do some experiments. Now, with this gun, we put it in sort of a different room, and we just put one camera on it. Okay? One camera on it. And through the whole live, the lights were flicking on and off, going on and off. There were sounds being heard, because when we first started, we placed it behind. Because we left it running for about 4 or 5 hours throughout the night, we put it to somewhere different. And wow, the experiences we had with that gun. And I must admit, my house never settled down for these 2 nights after. There was bangs, crashes, knocks on the windows to do with this gun. But I did call it forward from that.
Oh, fair enough. Right. Yeah. So you extracted it somehow.
Yes. I said, look, if you're associated with this gun, come forward. Now, I think it must have been around about 2 or 3 months ago. It must have been just over, the turn of the year. It could even been a bit between Christmas and the New Year. We did a seance, okay, at Jay's factory with the gun in the middle of the table. Well, I can safely say that I don't think I have ever been at a seance that caused so much crap. We had the table flying around. We had the table rocking. It really caused sort of a little bit of a
I hope you kept it and didn't throw it out the window.
No, I've still got it. I still got it. It's in a different box. It has to be. I keep it in a different box to your other little gems that you give me.
Is it a locked box?
Yes, it's a secure box. Just because it's got two other dolls with it. Okay, there's two haunted dolls that I've got. So it's kept in the.
Is that the same dolls that I gave you?
No, that doll's head is. That's all right. But the dolls was what Kim gave me, and they caused hell just as much. Put them all together, and you get a concoction of hell. Okay, and it's not. So that's where I drew from the energy, and this is what I like about this, and this is why I think we do need to do a sort of joint venture to see what we can muster up. You looking, and Simon following. I think it could make a really good sort of not only a video, but how nice would it be? So if you pick something up off the foreshore and you felt this connection, like as you said, you've never been perturbed, but you felt a connection. But how nice would it be all of a sudden that you actually got a name for that? You could address that. Well, you don't have to address it, but you could say, "Look, thank you." It'd be quite interesting.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, it'd be interesting to see what you make of the things we found, or just a general place. If we were to go down to somewhere like Execution Dock, where there'd been hundreds of pirates hung over the years, it used to be a public spectacle before the days of TV. You likes to good hangings, go down there and watch people being hung. It was a family event, so there's people down there, enjoying, in inverted commas, the spectacle, and obviously seeing people have their comeuppance. So a lot of feeling must have gone on down there. People hating these pirates and the pirates themselves. Or definitely mutinous people, maybe not pirates, but people that are treacherous and all the rest of it.
There's got to be, there's got to be some real energy in that area.
Without doubt.
There's got to be. Right, let's go back to some questions for you. We've got Francesca has asked you questions. What are your other hobbies, Si?
Ooh, well, I used to have hobbies until I took up mudlarking.
But you've got a lot of off-spurs, though, haven't you, from mudlarking?
A lot of what, sorry?
Off-spurs to your mudlarking.
Yeah,
because you take it to the extreme. And we haven't touched upon it yet, but you take it to the extreme. Like you've delved and you've got yourself a hovercraft.
Yes. So yeah, anything to do with treasure hunting, I absolutely love. And trying to get to places where other people can't is like almost my inner motto, because I don't want to go to the places where you've had 100 other people walk along, because the chances of you finding stuff are a lot less. Are a lot less. So I try and get boats here and there, and got the hovercraft I have co-owned with Steve. We've been to places that are very eerie. But yeah, hobbies wise, I enjoy art. I make artwork. In fact, mudlarking has actually helped me to push myself to do more of that, because when we've all got jobs and lifestyles and everything else, you kind of think, my hobbies aren't as important as getting other stuff done. But when I'm trying to make videos, I'm like, right, I've got this piece of metal that I found on the foreshore. I want to create something. I don't want it to take forever. I just want to do a couple of lines, couple of strokes with a brush or pastel, and create something nice. And I did a nighttime scene of a shipwreck on it, and it took me only sort of an hour to do, not even that probably. But it was a nice outlet, as well as the mudlarking side, which takes up a hell of a lot of time. You could even say YouTube is a hobby of mine. I love trying to work out the analytics, the social media, what does well, what doesn't, trying to learn all that. I like a bit of football. Me and Russ have got different teams, but we won't go into that too much. I like squash. I love playing squash, but I haven't played that for a while. I like cycling. I like loads of stuff like darts. Yeah, I like a lot of the sport. I like Formula One. I love watching sport on Formula One. I love watching documentaries, especially gold hunting, all those documentaries. I don't read as much as I wish I had. I should, but then again, it's all about time at the end of the day. Trying to read, I try a lot reading autobiographies when I can. So yeah, and I like animals, so I like looking after the cats and the chickens and stuff like that. So yeah, a vast variety of stuff. But high on the list is mudlarking, treasure hunting, art, graphic design. I enjoy doing. Apart from when Russ asks me, and I've got to do it in half an hour because his print deadline's around the corner.
Left it to the last minute
Yeah.
again.
So yeah, graphic design and art and crafting. I like to try new things because like one minute I might be setting up a new wood lathe, trying to make a bowl out of a piece of Thames wood. The next I'll be making copper coins using a little torch to create things out of copper clay. So trying new things all the time, especially with the world of crafting. It's really interesting to try and learn new techniques. And then once I've done it and given it a go, I like to cut down glass bottles to make them into beakers that we can reuse and repurpose. So I'm quite happy to try and look at the finds I've made and gone, right, well, what's going to happen? Is that going to sit in a drawer, or can we try and make something out of it? I've done things with resin as well, suspended things in resin. That's a really good way of producing artwork. So it all kind of works together for me because being like, I'll say I'm an artist or graphic designer, it's nice that I can use some of these things that I find, some of the more mundane things you might say, like copper nails and pins and things like that we find. How many pins does one person need? You don't, but you can start making artwork with them and stuff. So that's what I like to do, and that's where a lot of my passion lies as well. And it's good to show the audience as well, the viewers, what sort of things I come up with. And a lot of the time, I don't even know how it's going to end up. So I kind of hope for the best and go, right, I've got an idea in my head, and usually I'm thinking, I hope this turns out well and not an absolute lemon. But thankfully, and I do make mistakes. I drop things on camera, and balls things up, and people are telling me, oh, you need to do it like that, you need to do it like that. I was like, well, that's fine. I've never done this before. I never made a coin out of copper clay before, which is good because it kind of shows that anybody could just pick up something and give it a go, including,
everyone's a professional in something, but they're not really.
Well, they know a few things, and that's fine. You can't know everything yourself. And half the fun, I think, is trying it, and then you go, oh, I've learned something now, next time I'll be a bit better at it, and it's nice to show people the process that everyone's human, and hopefully give people the confidence to start from scratch on something, never having lifted a paintbrush, but going, oh, do you know what? I'll print from things, anything you can do. And a lot of people do actually say that they do get a lot of inspiration from seeing what sort of things I do. So it's nice to get that sort of feedback and to say, yeah, I'm going to try that now. I'm going to give that a go. So it's cool.
I must admit, the one thing that I always remember you making, and I really, really liked, is when you found the bottles, the bottles, and you took the top off and made like little beakers out of them, like drinking. Mm-hmm. I love that. Yeah. Something so simple that, as you say, like could possibly, what would I do with all these bottles? You've got a big bottle collection, I'm assuming. Yeah. You can only get so many bottles, but that's being recycled, isn't it? I like that.
Yeah, exactly. Well, a lot of these beautiful Victorian bottles, unlike the ones today, I mean, they're pretty cool designs, some of these things. But back in the day, they was all embossed, and they had beautiful pictorial things on the side and names and the street names and sometimes the person who invented it and stuff, all this lovely information, but the top would be broken off. And you think, well, I can't really display that because it's all got jarred edges and it doesn't really look great. So what I do is I'll get a cutter and cut the tops off, sand it down, maybe put a bit of lacquer on it as well to bring it to life, and it works beautiful with a candle inside it, and you've got a little candle holder. But there's only so many times you want to do that because it's just the same old thing all the time. So I'll try and diversify a little bit and play around with other mediums media, should I say, to get different results and try. Otherwise, it's just boring for me cutting things all the time. And I do keep doing it. I just don't show a lot of it on camera because it's just too repetitive, and I like to kind of mix it up a little bit.
But plus, it's a personal time, isn't it? Doing a little something away from the camera and working on your own, it's personal time as well.
Yeah,
let your thoughts go. That's where some of your best work comes into your head, I'm assuming.
When
you're alone on your time.
Yeah, I agree. Well, it's both times. Yeah, you don't, when you're mudlarking and you've got a metal detector in your hand, you can forget about all the crap that's going on in the world or in your private life or thinking about planning things. You got it's nice clear headspace. So it's great. Not only that, and then you come home and upcycle these things. Work out where they're from, dive into the history of it, present all that the hardest bit is making the videos, to be fair. The easy bit is doing the rest of it, but everything you got to film.
It's looking through the footage.
Yeah,
sometimes it can be mind numbing, and you think,
well, I think all my footage is fantastic, but
no, because mine can be very, very dull in places because you're waiting for stuff.
I know,
and it's like, just get to this, but then you can't fast forward it, because probably guaranteed if I fast forward it, the bit I need is going to be
the bit you miss
in that bit. So
you just got to look at your sound line, see when the little bits of the sound come up. That's what I do.
Right, let's get back to some questions now. We've got the lovely Stacey McKenzie. What is the earliest coin that you have found?
The earliest coin is probably a Celtic coin, so it's sort of BC era we're talking. It wasn't, I'm just trying to think which one it was. I think it was probably just like a bronze unit, they're called. I think that's possibly the earliest one I found. Found lots of Roman coins. Obviously they date to sort of the 1st and 3rd century. On the Thames is probably a Roman coin, dating to the 1st and 3rd century. On a field I found Celtic, which is going back before Christ, 200-300 years before Christ. So that was quite nice. But I do love finding Roman on the Thames. I just think it's so cool to think that there was a Roman person messing around on the Thames and they dropped their coin, but they don't come up very often. Well, for me, they don't anyway. Some people do manage to find more, but so yeah, Celtic. And we find quite a lot of medieval coins as well, which is great. So dating from...
That blows my mind.
Me too, yeah.
I can't get my head around that sometimes.
I don't understand how they're still there. I would have thought, well, how come they haven't just sunk into the mud and never to be found? Think about a metal detector. The amount of technology in that, you can actually see through mud, and it will tell you there's something metal, 6 to 8 inches deep in the mud. We've come up with that contraption. It's fantastic to think that we can see through the earth to see what's there. Yeah, it's incredible, and these artifacts actually still exist. They shouldn't be, in my head. There shouldn't be nothing left.
But then, see, you're right in what you sort of say. I can see how you've got to your point when you said earlier on. When you pick that item up and you get that, that feeling that this is like the first time that someone could have picked that up in sort of like 300 plus years.
Yeah,
you're the first hands to go on this object. And if that object belonged to someone that loved it, they must get that same appreciation back. That just blows my mind. It just blows my mind. You're right. I did never look at it like that.
Yeah. I'll tell you what was strange, actually, and I'm not sure if I told you this before, but I used to have an old friend of mine called John Webb, and he was an old treasure hunter. He wrote books on the subject. I'm not sure if I've ever mentioned him to you.
Yes. Yeah.
Right, so I met him just by pure coincidence one day. I was in the market and he was in the market, and he had a few things for sale, and it was mudlarking stuff. And I said to him, "Oh, you'd be mudlarking there, mate?" And he's like, "Well, you could say that." And he'd literally done it his entire life. He was a legend, and I didn't even know it at the time. Anyway, we became friends. I took him out, and all the rest of it, and we started metal detecting together, and we had a really good relationship. Got really close, and he told me I learned so much off him. He's a lovely old boy. Anyway, I was having this day in the field where I found this hammered coin that I just showed you, and I still keep it on my laptop because I think it's so amazing. I can't pull myself to put it in a box or anything. I was like looking at it, and I was in this field, and I was like, I hadn't found very much. I found one little thing, which was like a little tokeny thing, but apart from that, it was a bit naff. And I never do this ever. But I did talk to, because I've got two friends that have passed away, both called John. John GM, he died of cancer, unfortunately, very young. He was 60 odd something. And Webby, who was, he'd had good innings. He was about 80 odd. And I looked up and I was like, "Oh man, come on boys, show me where the finds are. I don't want I don't want the pot of gold. Just give me a decent find." And I don't know how we're going to work this, lads. Maybe you could maybe a bird will land somewhere in the field, and I'll go over and go where the bird goes. And I was just having a bit of fun in my head, thinking, and I was actually saying it out loud because there was no one else around, and I thought I looked like a right prat if someone sees me talking to the air. So I'm saying, "Yeah, go on, show me where I can get a good find." And then I forgot all about it. I thought, yeah, it's an twat. It's not gonna. No one's gonna point you in the right direction. You just got to. There's no shortcuts in life. You just got to try hard as you can, and maybe maybe something will come up. Let's carry on going. I found a really good signal. It was really deep. It was about a foot deep. I was like, this is gonna be good. It was a tin can. I was like, for God's sake, this is getting worse. Anyway, it was literally right at the end of the day, half an hour before we decided to call it a day. And that hammer coin popped out of nowhere. And it was like I was sort of guided, a little bit, not like pushed anywhere. And there was no sign physically to say like, over here, it wasn't like there was a crow or a cloud or anything or a twig that fell off the tree. It was just luck and maybe a bit of intervention somewhere that said, go this way around and you might get something, And we were good mates. We were very close. Like we had a lot of mutual respect for each other. So maybe it was a little shove in the right direction or a subliminal, nod to go over there. Yeah, and that popped up. And I remember that now. So I'm sort of grateful if that was anything that, led to that discovery. Who knows? But I just remember that saying that. And I never asked for a favour from that sort of side, if you like, before. I'm never going to do, people pray to God, didn't they, and ask for things and stuff like that. But that day I was like, oh God, the guy told us there'd be loads of stuff in this field, and he'd found loads of stuff in the past. And it's like he must have done it all. There's nothing left, and then there was that. So it's pretty cool. Yeah.
And it almost feels that you've associated that coin with that, John or the two Johns, and it stays with you quite aptly near, on your laptop and near you when you're doing your videos. I think that's really nice.
Yeah, I think so. I think, well, it's the best hammer I've ever found, in 10 years or so. So it means a lot because it's the best one, and maybe it was sort of helped to my possession by God who knows what.
I like that, and it's nice that you're bringing the world of spirit into it. From our lovely Heidi Hansen, all the way from Denmark, have you found things that are of interest of the police?
Very much so. Yeah. I mean, I've got an item now which I haven't done a video about, which I can tell you about if you want.
Yeah, go for it. Is this an exclusive?
It is an exclusive to the Essex Ghost Hunter and Pulse Radio. You guys are hearing this first. So we go out on the Thames estuary as well as the Thames in the town. The Thames in the town is a lot more forgiving because it's beachy and nice to walk on. You've got lots of stone and gravel and stuff, so you can have an easy time of it. But if you go down to the estuary, you're sure to be in for a surprise because it's not all beachy. It's very, very muddy. And we have to have special things on our feet to make sure we can walk out and not sink because it can be very dodgy. We have these things called mudders, which are basically plastic duck feet type things that strap onto the bottom of your feet so we don't sink. So when I'm not on the hovercraft, I'll go out on my bike and go down to places that are very, very far out. And recently, it's not the first time I found part of a human remain before, but it is one that I've actually taken with me because it's been recorded with currently it's been reported, but they haven't the police haven't yet required me to take it in. But I've got the top part of a skull, which is most likely human. It needs to be examined further to make sure, but it's very, very interesting. And we've visited various spots over the years, and we found tops of skulls and jaw bones and rib bones and stuff, which in the main have been reported to the police. Sometimes they know these locations anyway, because a lot of them are victims of things that have happened in the past, such as, we're talking 200 or 300 years ago when there would be prisoners out on the hulks of the Thames, and they wouldn't be given the most dignified funeral because they were lowest of the low at the time, supposedly. Also prisoners of war and people that have maybe been taken on voyages. You get press ganged back in the day, which is quite interesting. You ever heard of the term press gang?
I've heard of it.
But TV show that used to be called Press Gang, but that's not the same thing. What would happen is the Navy were desperate for people to join up, to fight and beat the Dutch, beat the Spanish and the French, etc. But people getting killed left, right, and centre. So they kept running out of personnel. So they used to go into the pubs and the taverns of London and wherever and press gang people, i.e. forcing them to join up with the Navy. And people that may not have any relations or, might be drunks, but they were desperate. They had to just have the people, they needed people to man guns and to sail and, create an army. So these people often didn't have much of a, they didn't necessarily have people that they could rely on, but they're just single men or young men that didn't necessarily have any family that they could connect to. So they would press gangs to go on these boats and ships and stuff. And then very often some of them passed away, maybe either from disease or from war wounds or maybe fighting, brought back. And some of them were buried in certain places in the Medway, and often just thrown aboard. And it might not just be them, it might be, we don't know where a lot of these people come from, but there's a lot of stuff out there. And every now and again we'll find a bone or two. And this is the case with this top of this skull. The interesting thing about it, and I'll show Russ the photos, that there are actually marks on the top of the skull. So there's a good possibility either he suffered some trauma to the head, or just light scratching his head, because there's these weird scratch marks on the top of his head.
Massively.
Which I only noticed actually after it dried, after I'd had it a few days. So it's very interesting, and I'm gonna let Russ take it before I hand it in and just see if we can get anything from it. Because if you're gonna get anything from anything, it's gonna be a bone, right? I would have thought.
We are gonna attempt the same sort of thing that we did with the gun.
Is that an exclusive?
Well, we've been trying to plan it for quite a while. There is some free time coming up, sort of at the early beginnings of May. So we'll invite you along to a secret location, and then we will try and call the energy forward. It'll be live on Pulse Talk Radio, on YouTube, and on Facebook, and we'll try and call the energy forward and see what we get.
I hope you bring lots of toilet paper.
Yeah, you'll be fine. You'll be fine. You're with professionals. You're with professionals. If you see us run, then you've run after us. All right.
Okay, fair enough. Yeah, take leave from you. No, it'd be interesting, very interesting to see what happens. Actually, if it's anything like the gun, then I'll be amazed. But talking about, we find hand grenades and ordnance. There's another big thing. Yeah.
Please, let's talk about the day you shut down Essex. I could not get it. It caused it all the way from where I live.
Really?
That day, I couldn't get onto, honestly, because everything was being pushed.
Oh.
I couldn't pick Simon up because he lived sort of that way, Rayleigh.
Yeah.
And I couldn't, so I had to make sure he come later because I couldn't get over there because it was just gridlocks everywhere I went. It was just so, tell the story. It's brilliant. I love this story.
So we were searching his Battles Bridge. There's an antique centre nearby, and part of the river there's tidal. So we went underneath the bridge there and did some detecting. And lo and behold, there was a hand grenade just sitting there looking back at us. And we thought it was going to be real. I put my pinpointer on it just to double check it was metal. Even the detector obviously told me it was metal, but it might have been something sitting by it. So we double checked with the pinpointer. Now, we found this grenade quite early on in the day. So we went down there within like 20 minutes. I'd seen it. But you know what? If we'd have called the police straight away, they'd have shut off the whole thing, which they, inevitably did. But we didn't want that to happen. So we just left it there for a while. We carried on searching around it, finding loads of stuff. I thought, no, we'll wait, I think, until give it a couple of hours, and then we'll call it in. I mean, it won't gonna go off anytime soon. We just made sure we didn't go near it. But it was a good job we did, actually, because I found a nice little gold ring in the same area. So it was a good job we didn't call it in straight away. But yeah, having done that, so a couple of hours went by, I called it in. The police turned up, and they bleeped to themselves and decided that they should cordon off the area, close the road, and call in the bomb disposal unit from Colchester. The squaddies from Colchester came down, and they took forever. Anyway, what was interesting enough, you don't see it on the video, I don't think, is you'd think, being the bomb disposal unit and being told that there might be, you know, in your line of work, you might come across a few, you know, World War II hand grenades that some pilots have thrown into the river or fields or whatever. Plus, you've got a lot of people metal detecting. It's not unusual for them to find ordnance as well. You'd think they'd turn up with a couple of sandbags, wouldn't you, when they're going to do their controlled explosion? But no, they turned up and they were like, well, we need some sand. Like, what are you looking at us for? I don't hold, you know, 100 kilos of sand in my car. So we had to go around with these sacks and try and find sand that someone had. I don't know how we did it. And we got hold of enough sand. They had the sacks, but no sand. So anyway, we got the they picked this squaddy, this guy who's from the bomb disposal. He went down there like beret, you know, and camo. Went down there, looked at the grenade, picked it up and threw it like it was a tennis ball up in the air and caught it again. The cockiest guy you'd ever want to see.
It was very blasé. It's on the video, isn't it? It's very blasé.
Oh, big time. Yeah, he thought, you know, is this it? We drove all the way for this? He sort of, you know, you can hear him thinking. So in the meantime, while we wait for them to turn up, the police had actually organised it so that if they needed to do a controlled explosion, could they do it in the farmer's field, not too far from where Battlesbridge Antique Centre was? And they said, yeah, go for it. And the annoying thing was, after I'd done all this, reported, you know, called it in, helped with the sand, you know, got the everything, and then everyone buggered off, as in the bomb disposal tore down the road. The police went after him, and me and Terry were standing there going, where they gone? You know, we want to see the explosion. And we had to leg it down this country road. No one gave us a solid lift. With my camera, thinking I've got to get this on film, because, you know, how often do you see that? So I was a bit pissed off we didn't get a ride from the police, but they said, oh, you can't come with us. I'm like, there's too much shit in the car. I was like, all right then, fair enough.
Unbelievable.
I know, like, we'll squeeze in. No, sorry. Oh, okay then. So anyway, we legged it about half a mile down the road, caught up with them, and it's quite fun actually. Once we got the sand there, we was taking the sand down, putting out the line, the detonation line, and they queued it all up and put some extra, whatever it is, detonate, you know, I don't know, C4 or whatever it was, with it, just to make it extra loud, because I think they probably enjoyed the process themselves, and boomed it up, and up it went. Yeah, and it was a great day.
It was a big explosion.
It was big. I think it was. They reckon they had quite a lot of extra C4 just so that it can definitely, you know, go off, because the actual explosives in the grenade itself wouldn't have been that much. Plus, there's no guarantee it will go off. So they have to give it a real, you know, it's like sticking a sausage on a barbecue, and, you know, all the energy comes from within, and it's
definitely one of my favourite videos.
It was good fun.
It's one of my favourite videos, because it did make the radio, the local radio, as Battlesbridge was shut down
on Essex Live as well, the news channel, the news feed website. I found one since though, and in another creek, and that one happened to be a dud, as in it wasn't live. I don't want to spoil all the videos for everyone, but you'll probably work it out. But you do see a policeman get covered in mud, so that was quite fun.
Oh yes, I remember that one. I remember that one as well. That was a good one.
He gets covered in mud. So and I said to the girl on the phone, like, they might want to wear wellies because it's quite dirty and muddy down here. And she's like, okay then. But they turned up in their sparkling new shoes, or their very polished shoes, and they used evidence bags as wellies.
Well,
but naturally, they got stuck in the mud. You know, they just put their foot down, and when they took their foot out, left the evidence bag behind, which I did clear up. I did clear up for them. Yeah, but the good thing about that, right, is, as it was a dud, it was a real grenade, but it'd been hollowed out. So we think it was probably used by the Home Guard or someone for practice, just for getting used to throwing them, and maybe they had smoke inside them or whatever. It was a real Mills grenade, but it wasn't live. So the bomb disposal team gave it to me. So I now have a little paperweight that I can keep. So I've had one exploded to high heaven that I never got to keep, but I enjoyed the explosion, and this one I got to keep.
Well, so, let's hope it is a dud, and you actually
one day just be a massive bang. Yeah, you won't see me anymore. What's that? Oh, grenade went off.
this must be someone that follows you and knows of you, because they say, did you find any pirate treasure in Costa Rica recently?
Costa Rica. Well, I did have a little detector with me, a little handheld detector, because I was going to do the beaches, because I did it once in Hurghada in Egypt, and it was such a laugh because there was just coins everywhere. I was literally sitting outside. Well, our hotel was right outside. Well, it's a massive complex basically, and lots of people went swimming, and the weather, the beach wasn't too rough. So whenever they dropped something, it just landed on, in the water. It hadn't ever been detected, and I found 200 or 300 coins. It's one of my very, very first videos that I did, and I bought that same metal detector out, thinking if there's the same, I want to do it. But no, but we did stay at Drake Bay, and that's where Francis Drake apparently had set anchor down, and they called it after him. I think he had a hand in discovering the place. And apparently he did bury some treasure in or around the area. So yeah, it would be good to find that, because there would be a lot wherever that is. But it's only rumours. It's a bit like the Curse of Oak Island, It's you can spend your whole lifetime looking for something like that and not find anything. I have more fun on the Thames, so there's a better chance of finding something. But yeah, if I'd have had my metal detector, I would definitely have given it a go. The only thing is when you go abroad, the rules are a bit sketchy, and you look like a mad Englishman because it's so hot out there. It's absolutely it's 34 degrees. You're gonna melt. Doing anything more physical than just rolling over, you're gonna melt. So it's not the ideal location. But yeah, give me, I found out that it was France, named after France Street, after I got there. So maybe if there's different circumstances, I would have taken a detector. But I don't know how they would have felt if I'd have found treasure down there. But no, it was a nice break from it all, because sometimes you do have to kind of you have to take a break from treasure hunting and mudlarking, just so you get a chance to miss it a little bit. And you don't want, you don't want to be a busman's holiday, do you, where everything's the same everywhere you go. I've been on a road trip recently to Portsmouth. I've got another one due to go to Alderney, which we'll be doing metal detecting there. There's a few other places that I want to visit, so I think this year could be quite good. Now that lockdown's lifted, we'll get going again, and hopefully we'll get Russ out on some fields that he knows about and do some detecting there as well.
I'm not sure the gentleman I'm not sure if the gentleman is in actually the chat tonight. But we're definitely up for that. We're definitely up for that. This is from Terry C. I'm just a bit of information. First, I'm researching and sinking of the Princess Alice in 1878 with 700 lives lost when it was hit by a barge. It was the largest loss of life on the Thames of many children, which is quite sad.
Yeah, it was. Well, they were a lot of those. There wasn't enough life jackets and provisions, but they never thought it would. Things like that would happen. It wasn't enough, and they all wore big frocks because they were on a lovely day out to the seaside, I think it was, if I remember correctly, and they all got dressed up because going to Clacton or Southend or wherever it was a big day out for a lot of Londoners, so they dressed to the nines. But that was their downfall, and where they sunk as well, where I believe they actually had the collision, it was like really stinky, sewagey, horrible mud. So it was like flapping around in liquid gunk, and so there was just even if it was horrible. It was a really bad way to go, as far as I can remember.
And where Terry C, where she visited the area, could have sworn I heard screams and crying, which is a bit freaky in itself.
A lot of terror happened there.
Janine Thomas has asked, where do you keep everything?
Good question. I've got a man cave now that I put stuff in. But I try and take home less stuff than I used to. But I still get quite a lot of bottles. I've got boxes of crap that I need to sort out. And I've got various coin cases, and I've got a nice little glass cabinet in one of my rooms that has my Roman pot or two in there, and some other nice little finds. And they're sort of scattered all over the place, really, in various quantities. Some are on my laptop, some are in the garage, some are in drawers, and I try and organise things, but I'm not the best at organising. I'm a bit untidy. So they sort of get pushed around and stuff like that. So I do have boxes. I'm getting better. When I come back from a trip now, I'll put everything that I found in that one trip in a bag, so that I know that when I want to do the cleaning and the researching, when the time comes, I've got all that stuff to hand. So I'm getting better, but I'm just looking around me now. I can still see buttons and bits and bobs that I need to organise. I need like one of those people that help declutter, and put everything in the right place. But
was it Agnes? Was it Aggie and Kim you want to come round? Is it?
that'd be nice. Yeah, but no, I'm like, put that down. It's too precious.
Yeah.
What do you do with that? Don't touch that. Don't want you losing that. So
another question from Janine as well. How often do you actually go on the foreshore?
As often as I can. It will be at least once a fortnight, if not every week. And in the summer months, when the weather's better and we get a bit more light, it'll be after work, evening or two. But I'll be out doing something every weekend, and if I can get away doing it Saturday and Sunday, I'll do that as well. But the thing about the foreshore is we have different tide levels. So sometimes you'll get a really good tide. The tide goes out further. You get more foreshore to search. You go right down the lower water mark where less people have supposedly walked. So we try and go down on the good tides. And if that means getting up at 5 a.m. to get there for 7:30 or whatever, get down to the low water mark at that low time, then we'll do that. It's like chasing the dragon, trying to get that low tide. And friends of mine, other mudlarks and stuff, there'll be a little flurry of excitement if there's a good bunch of tides coming up, because we know that there's a better chance of finding stuff, because there's areas which aren't searched so often. But just because it's written on a tide chart doesn't necessarily mean it will be like that, because if we have a ton of rain a few days before, or the wind's not blowing in the right direction, it'll just be a bang average tide again, or maybe even a poor one. So there's a lot of nature involved in our decisions as well.
This is a good one for you from Corbin. Hi Siri, clean my clutter. Alexa, sort my coins. There's a gap in the market, I swear.
Yeah, can we not just get a robot to come and put it all in the right places? That'd be great. I know people love organising stuff though, don't they? They love sorting things out, putting things in alphabetical order, and date range and all that sort of stuff. But like I say, I think the thrill of what I do, I love finding that stuff and cleaning it, recording it, researching it. And after that, I'll just put it in a box, unless it's a really precious thing. I'll try my best to preserve it the best I can. But then I'm always trying to look for the next thing. So yeah, got boxes of various bits and bobs.
Well, I've got a question for you. Okay, what is there sort of within the mudlarking, metal detecting scene or treasure hunting scene that is, sort of quite a prize sort? Is there a sort of something that you'd love to find that would sort of smile?
Yeah, we love finding pilgrims badges. I mean, I've never found one, but that will probably be right up your street, because they're things that they're medieval. They're beautiful little pewter things, and they're given to people once they do a massive pilgrimage. So for example, Canterbury is a big pilgrim sort of area. The cathedral and everything else. It's got an amazing history attached to it, and people used to travel from London. They used to walk there, pick up their badges that they used to get as a memento of their sacrifice and their walk to these places, and they come back to London very often, or other places as well. And having done that journey, sometimes they would offer their badge or their little memento into the river, because they've done that trip, and they're offering it back in. And these finds are remarkably well made, considering they're made in medieval times, and they're absolutely beautiful little things. And I've only found parts of them before, never found a complete one. They're kind of like the holy grail, if you like. If you find a good pilgrim's badge, that's a real top find. But it could be anything, like posy rings as well, gold posy rings. That's on my list. You'll get these 16th century beautiful gold rings with an inscription on the inside in Latin, and it's usually something romantic and poetical, about I will love thee, you know, forever, or thine, and you know, these beautiful old scripts and stuff, these posy rings. Sometimes they'll have like a skull engraved in them as well, and I know a few people that have found them. So yeah, when they come up, you know, you think, wow, that's real treasure, real treasure.
Real pirate treasure. Right, on that note, guys, I am just going to cut to a ad break on Pulse Talk Radio. So please, if anybody is listening over on Pulse Talk Radio, we're just going to go to a quick song. We're going to play a couple of songs, and then we'll be back to the chat. Everyone on Facebook, just hang tight, and we'll be back after the break. Right, so you can be excused for your toilet break. And so everybody be on. Just hold tight for a minute, guys. We'll be back in a minute. We're just going to play a quick song, and then we'll be back. And I'm just going to quickly go Lou as well. Bear with us just a moment. Oh, please just bear with us. Hang tight, guys. We'll be back shortly live on Pulse Talk Radio. Thank you for everybody that is joining us. Your questions are absolutely brilliant. Keep them coming in. We're into the last half hour of the show now. So keep your questions coming. Julie, I can see you've got a question coming in. So that would be brilliant. Thank you for everybody that has joined us. Quite interesting chat. Something different on the EGH Paranormal Talk Show tonight. Something different. Something just to break the sequence of the paranormal up, which is good. So that's all right. So I'm just talking to our list. I'm just talking to our watchers. That's all I'm doing. We'll be going back live on Pulse Talk Radio in about a minute and 30. And then we'll get back into the chat. But I was just saying thank you to all the guests. And I was just saying how different it is for me to listen to a different subject. I think it's quite interesting. I've enjoyed it anyway. We've only got 20 more minutes left of the show. So
okay, fair enough. Yeah, well, anytime you want to, you know, bring me on and have a chat about things, and I'll let you know what I found and experiences. If I capture anything on film or whatever. I mean, I'll send you that thing, didn't I, with the the orb and stuff like that.
Yes.
I call it Tower Bridge, or I think it was Tower Bridge. Yeah, that's quite cool.
Well, just to let you know, Chris, that we are premiering our Essex Ghost Hunters Season 1 on the 1st of May. So look out for that. We've got our first couple of episodes coming live on the 1st of May. So look out for that. Right, we're going live back on Pulse Talk Radio. Just hold tight.
The EGH Paranormal Talk Show, exclusively on Pulse Talk Radio, every Friday night from 8 p.m. with Russell Old and Simon Hardy.
Hello there, guys, and welcome back to Pulse Talk Radio, Facebook, YouTube, wherever you're watching, listening, whatever. Welcome back, because we've been really having a great chat with the wonderful Si from Si's Finds, Thames Mudlark. We've been really getting deep and down to some nitty gritty, where he's found, what he's found, how he's found it, shut down local towns, caused havoc wherever he goes. But we have a question that has come in from Julie Ray. I have a metal detector for years, but I can't get permission to check the farmland, which is frustrating because I live opposite a Saxon site. Is there anywhere I can detect where I don't need permission?
The beaches, in a word or two words. Yeah, you can detect beaches. There's a thing called Crown Foreshore, and it's if you look up Crown Foreshore permit, there used to be a permit where you could It was free. I don't even know why they did it, but you just got a free permit, and in doing so, I think they just kept a log of the people that were out there detecting. But there's a map if you go onto that website, and it's an interactive map. You've got to wait a few seconds for it to load up because it's so busy. There's a purple line, and it tells you where you can detect as long as you've got this Crown foreshore permit. I don't think there's a permit anymore. I think they've all knocked that on the head. So you don't even have to get yourself a free permit. You can just check the maps and crack on and detect on the purple zones on the beaches. The only thing about beaches is you're going to get a lot of modern stuff and probably a bit of trash as well. I mean, Russ has given it a go with me once, and it wasn't great. But then again, some really cool things have been found on beaches. It just depends what's closest to you. If you're right in the middle of the country, that could be a pain in the bum because it's going to be like a 3-hour drive wherever you go to the beaches. But I would say persist with those permissions because that's where you want to be. Anywhere near that Saxon, farmland would be terrific because the best thing about ploughed land, as you know, they've been turning it over for years and years. All the fines get brought up to the surface every year. It just takes someone with a metal detector to go and find it. So if that one farmer won't let you, try and talk to the other farmer and the other farmer. One thing I would say is don't bother writing letters or give them a call because it's too easy to fob you off. If you knock on the door and you present yourself nicely and you tell them that you're a local girl, I think it's a girl, wasn't it?
Yeah.
It's a woman. And they said, Julie, sorry. And you say, look, I'm really interested in my local history. Is there any chance I could try it for a day, just one day? Because farmers don't want you. They don't want you there forever. I think they don't want you to be like attached to them. Like, yeah. So if you just say, look, I want to try it for a day. I'll show you everything I find. I think it'd be really interesting for you to see what's on your land. And as well as me, I'd love to learn more about the local history. Keep it local. Tell them you're interested in history, not about finding treasure, because chances are you won't anyway. And just keep at them. Just keep knocking on doors. And someone will say, yeah. And don't think just about farmland. Think maybe pasture as well. People will own paddocks. And as soon as you get one permission, a couple more will tend to fall in place because you can go to the next one and say, yeah, your neighbour down the road, the one who owns the paddock, she's let me go on a couple of times, or he's let me go on a couple of times, and I've shown them that they found a nice, locket or whatever it was you found on the field. In fact, I found her keys for her that she lost, to start a horse up with. I found those for her. So you could play it like that and just try and be friendly, and I think females might be able to, sweet talk their way into a farmer's good books because I think you might get a bit more trust than seeing as all right, mate. You mind if I detect your who are you? What do you want? Farmers are very busy people. So another thing is don't go and visit them Sunday lunchtime because they're going to be feeding themselves. Try and do it out of the harvest time. So now's good because now's a good time. They're not churning up the field so much. They've got a bit more spare time. So they might be more prone to say yeah. But you just got to keep trying. Knock on doors, go up, be big and brave. The worst I can say is no, and then you will get one eventually. In which case, you can always fall back on the beaches to learn your machine. But the settings will be quite different between going on a beach and going on land. But at least you'll have fun pursuing your hobby in the meantime.
Is there anything you can is there any sort of unwritten laws or that you have to if you do detect farmer's field that you have to share a 50-50 split, or is there any sort of written rules like that?
Yeah, there is. I mean, I wouldn't get bogged down with. Some people have contracts with the farmer, but on first impressions, if you go in with a contract saying this is what's going to happen, the farmer might go, "Well, I'm not signing anything. I don't know who you are." First, you want to build that trust with them. So you don't say you're going to find anything amazing. You said you're going to look. I want to find some old crap, some old half pennies that I love because I like history. I like finding it. I've never used this metal detector before, but I just feel that this is a really good place to start. I wonder if you'd be so kind as to let me on. I'll show you everything at the end of the day, or if not, I'll just, I'll leave and I'll make sure I shut the gates and I'll fill all my holes in. I've got insurance. You can get insurance in the NCMD as well. So if he was to accidentally fall down the ditch, you're not going to sue the farmer because he left a pile of hay or something in the way or whatever. So you just got to be realistic. But yeah, in terms of if you was to find something absolutely incredible, you would generally do a 50-50, but that's a long way. The money side of it, if you was to find something amazing, is a long journey because you have to report it officially. If you find a hoard, you have to report it with a coroner. So anything that's older than 300 years old and made of a precious material, or 10% of a precious material, so we're talking gold or silver, if it's a bracelet or something like that, then you'd have to report it to the coroner, to the flow. Then they work out about who wants to purchase it. It gets offered to the museums first of all of the area. If they don't want it, then it's usually disclaimed back to you, and then you can decide with your landowner what you want to do. Some of them don't really care about it. They've got enough money, they can just say, yeah, you keep it. But I'm sure if it's worth thousands, they're going to want their fair share, and rightly so. So at that point, you can come to an agreement. Maybe if you've got a permission with someone that you've got a relationship up with them, and you're finding a few things. You're finding a bit of Saxon if you've got a Saxon area, or you found some nice hammers, and you think this could be really good. There could be some stuff here. Cover your ass and then get it, because it's very easy to the farmer to just say, well, we never come up with nothing. It's on my land. I'm not giving you anything. So yeah, there are contracts online that you can print out, and it's all got, you just fill in the names and whatever, and you both sign it to say, look, anything we find, if it's over the value of say 500 quid, we're both going to split it 50-50. The trouble with that is, if no one wants to buy it, i.e. the museums don't want it because they've got a couple of those examples and they can't afford it, you might have to end up buying the farmer out half of what he wants to own the object, or you then put it into a general auction, which could be heartbreaking if it's a really good find. But those sort of problems are good to have, I think. If you've got a problem where you don't know what to do with the treasure, because whether you can sell it or buy it off him, he might want to buy it off you, so you might be in the money. But I wouldn't go into metal detecting thinking about money, because it's just not going to happen. You might find a few things worth, I don't know, it's not worth it. All the stuff I found, nothing is really worth much over 200 quid. It's just how it is. Very rarely you get people that find hoards, but you can count them on a couple of hands, who do that. But you never know; it could happen to you. That's what we all want. But it's like win the lottery when you come to. We're talking like life-changing amount of stuff, There are coins that I found that are worth a couple of thousands, maybe. But in that situation, I think I'd rather want to. I'd like to keep that sort of thing rather than sell it. Each to their own. Everyone's entitled to do what they want.
It's different if it's like a £6 million hoard, then it's a little bit different, isn't it?
You could part with that, couldn't you?
Yeah, quite easily. Retirement fund in your bag straight off.
Yeah, or maybe one day I'll find something like that, but you can't. If you go out thinking, right, today I'm going to find a hoard of, silver denarii, I'll be set for life. You'll be disappointed. But go out there and make every find feel like it's treasure, and get, as long as you're genuinely interested in what you're finding, anything with any money is a bonus.
Well, this is what Sandra's put. I would be happy to find a buckle. So exciting. And I can actually vouch for that, because me and Simon, my co-host Simon, have actually gone out with Si, and we've actually done metal detecting on Canvey Island, right on the point of Canvey Island. And we just found some old bits of shrapnel, literally from, it was either a plane, wasn't it? Or because there was a plane crash, wasn't there, on Canvey that...
there was. Yeah, whether I doubt that would have come from that plane crash itself, but in and around the estuaries of London, London and southeast, we were bombarding Luftwaffe that came over during the Second World War. So there was outposts wherever all over the place. You can even find the pillboxes now, can't you, of where people were stationed all along the coast to keep an eye out for them. So as soon as there was any sign of invasion, they would send up the rockets, and that's what we find a lot of. It's been washed up, and we find we found lots of molten brass, didn't we? That were probably could have been part of a plane, could have been part of the shells that have been melted on impact.
And that was great. That gave me a buzz. Do you know what I mean? I was proper buzzing for that. I even found, when we went mudlarking, where did we go? We went to
Vauxhall,
didn't we? And I found the little ball. It sits on my desk at work. The little ball, like the firing
basketball.
basketball. That's it.
Yeah.
I buzz for that. Do you know what I
Yeah.
mean? That could mean nothing to some people, but it is. You're right in what you're saying. It's just that, just finding something that has the history, and it gives you that sort of chills down your back. So
Yeah.
finding a buckle, finding anything. We did a bit of detecting also over a field in somewhere over in Brentwood somewhere, I think it was, wasn't it? I don't quite know.
Yeah.
And I found that we didn't find much, but
should have done though. We found gold coins on that field. I don't know why we didn't find any more, but and silver hammered. So we just had a bad day that one.
Yeah.
But yeah, there was we found. I remember. I think I found a lead toy horse, didn't I, that day?
That's it. Yeah.
Yeah, and you think, well, some little kid has played with that, 100 odd years ago, and they were lost in the field. It's mad. A lot of field finds, interestingly. Apparently, a lot of the fertilizer that they used before we know fertilizer today in sort of chemical form, they put a lot of their old clothes onto fields to help fertilize it. And you can imagine that's where all the buttons come from, and things inside the pocket. So perhaps that horse was inside a kid's clothes and it just got mixed up. Otherwise, there's a kid in the middle of nowhere playing in the field with a horse. Like, how does this stuff get there?
Yeah.
But a lot of coins and stuff would be, inside pockets and maybe just, not, or gone inside the lining of a jacket and not been able to get out. And it all just gets thrown in and dispersed over the fields, which is why we find quite a few buckles as well.
And
yeah, buckles are cool. I like buckles. Children ones.
Pipe stems do it for me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, clay pipes. Yeah, they smoked a lot of those, and obviously the bowls are reasonably common, but not always. But the stems, you'll find a lot of. Anybody can go down on the Thames and find stems, and they're really cool. I've made wind chimes out of them before. I think I showed you, didn't I, Russ? The wind chime I made.
Yeah.
Yeah, you make wind chimes from them, or just enjoy them for what they are. People do others. People make pendants out of them, but they're nicely river worn as well. So they've got that kind of really nice tactile feel.
And I can't. Sorry, I've lost myself. I have a 500 acre permission in Colchester. You guys are welcome to join me at some point.
Well, that put me down. Yeah, I'm coming. Colchester is a fantastic Roman area. Is the old capital of England, the very first one before Londinium. So yeah, it's absolutely there's quite a lot of Roman activity around there. So 500 acres is a big area.
Yeah,
that's it would. I reckon when we go on rallies sometimes. So the person who was asking about can you metal detect without permission, another option would be to go to a rally, and they're really good because you pay like 20 quid a day. And it's an organised, yeah, that's the one. And it's an organised rally, so it means that the person's got permission for you, so you don't have to find it, and you get to meet other people as well. So if you're not sure about your machine and you can see a friendly face, you might say, "I don't suppose you've got the same machine as me. Can you show me how to do this, that, and the other?" Or you just have a coffee, and there's usually a burger van there, and people are chatting away. So there's a really good atmosphere, and they'll show you what they found, and you can learn from other people. And it's more of a social thing as well for a lot of people to get out. So rallies are a fantastic way to go. But when I'm going back to your 500 acres, yes, I want to, hit me up before the end of the year or at some point. You get me on.
How do they get in contact with you? What's the best way?
Probably Instagram message. I'll go on there quite a bit. Instagram message, or I've got an Etsy shop that's got quite a good little messaging system on there. Or if they're one of your subscribers, Russ, then they can contact you, can't they?
Got a lot of new names in the chat tonight, so it's been really good. A lot of new names. So Terry, you've know he's got sci-finds. Contact him through any way you can. You have got Facebook as well. Sci-Find Mudlark Facebook, haven't you as well? Yeah,
I've got an email address, but I don't really look at that too much. I usually keep that for competitions and things because
that's fine.
But it's sci-finds at outlook.com, I think. Don't use all that often, but yeah, go through Facebook or Facebook Messenger. That's a good one. Yeah.
All right.
I'll always answer people most of the time. So
spread over 14 fields.
Oh, that sounds amazing. Yeah, if we can get on there, we'll have a great time. And Terry, if you haven't got a metal detector, I'll gladly lend you one. I'm sure you have. But if you haven't, then yeah, let us know if you found anything before. Even if you haven't, it'll just be a bit of a giggle. We can come along.
Well, we can mix and I've got a very good metal detector that I've only used once, so it'd be nice to get out there and then
Dust it
use
off.
it. Yeah,
Absolutely. Yeah, no, it's always good to get out on the fields. And yeah, I reckon one person could do 1 acre in a day. So when there's a rally on and they say, "Oh, we've got 100 acres," I usually think, well, that's going to allow 100 people on. You can usually work out how much, because sometimes they let a certain amount of people on these rallies. So if they got 100 acres, it's 100 people. So basically, I reckon to cover the all land you're talking about would take one person 500 days, nearly a year and 3/4 to cover it once, let alone go back over it and do it the other way and all the rest of it. So that's a humongous permission, 500 acres, especially in Colchester. That could be really good.
There you go. We've got something out of it tonight. Then it sounds like
it's always good to
networking. It's all about networking.
Exactly. Well, I've got someone who got in contact with me, and I got a Quest. That's a pretty good machine, actually. I know that my mate Chris, he loves that Quest. He thinks it's fantastic. So while it's such a size, I'm not surprised, Terry. It's a big one. I can tell it's a big old permission. I forgot what I was saying now. But
yeah, I can't help you on that one. I can't help you on where
I'm thinking about his permission now. 500 acres.
Yeah, well, Terry will be in contact with you anyway.
Sweet. All right. Well, you got to come as well. That's a deal.
Yeah, no worries. That'll be definitely a deal. Well, we've come to our time, guys. We have come to our end of the time. I just want to say a massive, massive thank you to Si that has joined us tonight. It's been great. It has been really great. So I'm just going to read you a private message that I have been sent, okay? And it's from Julie, okay? This is probably my favourite programme tonight. I didn't think it could get any better than ghost hunting, but combining it with what Si does is right up my street. I am absolutely loving it.
It's brilliant. Right. Well, I'll carry on talking all night if we could, but we have to call it a day at some point, I'm sure.
Well, let's get you back. Let's do something. Obviously, when we get this séance sort of arranged with the piece of skull, then we're going to do some Thames foreshore work with combined a bit of ghost hunting. So there's a lot of things to look forward to that we can combine. The two, whatever you call it, crossed channels or whatever we do. But so many people are coming through. Thanks, guys. Absolutely loved the show. Cheers to both sides on this channel. Look forward to seeing more from this channel. Very interesting, informative talk. Thanks. Absolutely brilliant. But please, honestly, guys, been brilliant. Love history of mudlarking. But that makes you just one thing before we disagree. It always goes to another question. At the beginning of the show, I wrote this question down. At the beginning of the show, you said you didn't like history when you was at school.
Well, yeah, you're right, because it was just boring. It was all about books, and the teachers were talking about the dates, and it was just hard to absorb. Yeah.
And now I'm going to ask you the one question, okay? Do you wish that you paid more attention to history at school now?
I suppose you could say that. Yeah, it would be nice to. Yeah, what I would do is I would tell them about mudlarking or metal detecting and say, if you want to engage people, get them out there and with your hands on history.
I keep thinking the same. In my thing, I just wished I had learned a little bit more when it comes to the history, especially when I speak to Spirit and I say, what year is it? And they say this queen or this king was on the throne. I haven't got a clue. I'd just love to be able to know what they're telling me is the year,
Yeah.
So, but no,
you can get a really good mug actually, and it's got all the kings and queens and all the dates they were on the throne for. So I might have to buy it for you.
But no, honestly, Si, it has been an absolute pleasure to have you on tonight. It's been so good. It's been different for me to listen to sort of how you've got into it and what you found, even though I'm a big follower and I'm a subscriber to your channel. And if you are not already a subscriber to Si's channel, it is Si's Finds 10 Mudlark. Okay.
like 200 videos on there, so you can go back and see all the stuff I've gone up to, see how bad my video editing was back in the day, up to the current not much better standards.
Oh, behave. It's the absolute dog's danglies, yours. So thank you ever so much, guys. Your song that is playing you out tonight is Right Here, Right Now by Turo. So thanks to everybody that has joined me on Pulse Talk Radio. It has been an honor and a pleasure. And we'll be back next week, next Thursday, as we are back on Journey Through the Unexplained. And please, just everybody, there's so many new shows coming to Pulse Talk Radio over the next month or so. So please check that out. But playing out tonight is Right Here, Right Now. Take care, guys, and stay safe. I just want to say thank you. Just stay there for a minute, Si. Thank you for everybody that has joined us on the broadcast tonight. You've been an absolute star. So we'll see you all next week. Si won't, but my other Si will. All right. So just stay there, Si, and take care, everybody.